This channel explores moments of self-reflection that arise in everyday life. Is love what you think? Erich Fromm once wrote, "Love is an art, just as living is an art." We often say "I love you," thinking the words alone prove we understand love. But saying love is not the same as knowing how to give it. Love is proven in what remains after feelings fade. Before we claim love, we might ask whether we are offering connection or simply reaching for comfort we fear losing. And maybe the real issue is that we confuse emotion with love. First, we chase the feeling because it is intoxicating. Second, movies and culture shape expectations, teaching us what love should look like before we ever experience it. And third, without practicing vulnerability, love becomes a desire to be seen, rather than a willingness to truly see another. When a slower reply feels like rejection, longing replaces understanding. In the end, love without understanding is only attachment with a softer name. So now, what if you asked yourself, when did you last love someone without asking for anything in return? How has love changed the way you treat someone?
What would you honestly say?
Who holds responsibility in democracy? Alexis de Tocqueville once observed, "In democracy, we get the government we deserve." Democracy is often described as a system where power is held accountable. Elections are believed to be judgment. Votes are cast, promises are made, and citizens believe their role is complete. Yet when consequences arrive, responsibility becomes a ghost. Leaders blame terms, media cites neutrality, and people say they simply followed the rules. Maybe democracy is not what we think. And maybe the real issue is not democracy itself, but what we expect it to do. First, we assume systems can enforce responsibility. Yet systems are only empty frames without those who act. Second, we believe collective action absolves individuals. Yet a crowd can harm while each person feels innocent. And third, we think leaders carry the weight of failure. Yet power quickly learns how to escape judgment. Democracy is not accountability. It is only the space where accountability might live. So now, what if you asked yourself, if you did not vote for them, are you truly free from blame? Can democracy survive if no one accepts responsibility?
What would you honestly say?
Who really chooses our leaders? Winston Churchill once said, "The best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter." We regard elections as the ultimate symbol of public power. We mark our ballots, make our choices, and history moves forward. For generations, voting feels like freedom. We believed elections were the purest expression of public will. Yet the freedom we feel may have been framed long before, by narratives we never questioned. And maybe this is where democracy's hidden conflict begins. First, the candidates we choose are filtered by power long before Election Day. Second, information we rely on is curated, favoring image over substance. And third, majority rule celebrates numbers, not necessarily wisdom. In this system, we may be participating, but not truly deciding. What we call democracy may sometimes be a spectacle, where the illusion of choice replaces the practice of discernment. Behind it all, the system still selects itself. So now, what if you asked yourself, are many of our choices truly driven by our own will? Does choosing among limited options count as freedom?
What would you honestly say?
Where does technology take us? Martin Heidegger once stated, "The essence of technology is not itself technological." We often believe technology advances because it becomes faster, smarter, and more efficient. But progress is not direction. A tool can solve problems while quietly creating new ones. Without asking who benefits or is left behind, innovation becomes momentum without meaning. Before fearing where technology will take us, we might ask why we follow before knowing where we want to go. And maybe the real issue is that we treat technology as destiny, not design. First, we assume every advancement is inherently good. Second, convenience becomes a quiet ruler, shaping behavior before anyone notices, like when we stop thinking because our devices think first. And third, without philosophy, technology answers questions we never meant to ask, leaving us with solutions that fix symptoms while eroding the ability to reflect. In the end, technology without thought promises everything and explains nothing. So now, what if you asked yourself, do you rush to try every new device as soon as it arrives? Have you noticed life repeating the same patterns, even as tech advances?
What would you honestly say?
What is justice in the global order? John Rawls once wrote, "Justice is the first virtue of institutions, since unjust systems cannot be considered legitimate." But what happens when those institutions operate on a global scale? World leaders often speak of peace and fairness. Yet the world we see is shaped by war victories, colonial legacies, and economic hierarchies. In international arenas, the loudest voices dominate, while smaller nations struggle to be heard. Is that what justice should sound like? And maybe this is where our definition of justice begins to fray. First, the concept of justice in global politics is rarely applied universally. Second, it often becomes selective, protecting the strong while silencing the weak. And third, a rule that benefits one nation may damage another, and yet it is still called international law. When the global order is structured by those with the most power, neutrality becomes questionable. Can a world designed by a few ever truly serve everyone? So now, what if you asked yourself, what does real justice look like beyond borders and flags? Can smaller nations find fairness in a system designed by the powerful?
What would you honestly say? See you in the next video.